Okay, so hi, I'm Ann from Craft Fantastic, and we're going to be doing our fantastic art cascade. This one's the cactus, and these are the tools that you need. You're going to need some kind of a straight edge. You can also use the edge of a table, but I'm going to work along the edge here. A paper clip's handy. You don't need it, but you'll see you roll the paper up and hold it with the paper clip. A glue stick that's in good shape and not dried out. It's just a standard run-of-the-mill hole punch and a pair of scissors. All right, let's get started. Okay, in the kit, you get everything you need. So I'm just going to go over everything. You get color images, and they are labeled, and we'll use this later with the order that you place them down. And then here, these are dictionary pages and printed with black and white images. And again, it's a little hard to read, but you can see everything's labeled with a number. You're going to have 2 paper grommets, which we'll use later. If you're just doing a single piece, you're going to use 1 paper grommet, or if you're going to cut it into 2 pieces, you'll use 2. And then we have 2 pieces of ribbon, and again, 1 ribbon for the single or 2 ribbons for the double. And then we've got our 2 paper headers, and we use these at the very end, and I'll show you how to use them. They're super easy. And then we've got 9 sheets of cut up pages, and this is the base. This is what we're going to work with first. Okay, so now we're going to start with the straight edge. I usually work along the edge of the table, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to do it along with a ruler. A little bit longer, if you've got a longer straight edge, that would work better, but we're constrained by the size of the video. So the first thing we're going to do, and it's super simple, super fast, is I'm going to apply about, the width of the glue stick all along the side. And then I'm going to place my little piece of paper against the ruler. And this is where you want it to be. You want it really to go right along the edge here. You want it as straight as possible. And there you go. That's the first one. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the next one. And add another dictionary piece. And I've got it right up against the edge. And I'm going to put this one right up against the edge of the ruler. And then there is number 2. Now you've got that large paper clip. If this gets in the way, you can paper clip this lightly. It just makes it easier to work with because it gets long. So we're going to do the next one now. And what's so great about this project, it has dramatic impact, but it's super easy to make. It only takes me, I can actually make one in about, well, certainly less than an hour. So I'm going to line that up against the edge of the ruler. And then I've got my next sheet. Actually, I'm going to pull this down. You want to really work from the center of the ruler. If you work on the end, you're not going to get a straight edge because you need to have enough of this edge along here. And make sure you're using enough glue stick when you're doing this. I'm jamming it right up against the edge of the ruler here. And again, there we go. And I keep rolling everything up now on the end. You don't have to re-clip the paper. It'll just roll naturally if you start with one clip. And I'm just, and again, getting it sort of roughly center on the ruler or straight edge or the edge of the table. And I'm lining everything up. And this is the base of your piece, and you want to really make sure that this is straight. There we go. And then I just keep doing that for all of the sheets. Okay, so now we're going to start to build our structure. Or no, we have our structure. Now we're going to embellish our structure. And I think the best thing to do is put this into order. So this is number 1, and I'm going to do it face down. And now I'm looking for number 2. And then we've got number 3 and number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now, you don't have to put this together. You can put this together in any order that you choose, but I numbered them just because it'll just make it easier for you. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with number 1, and you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the line that says cut. So I'm just cutting that right sort of midway through that line. And I'm going to throw that little piece away. And so now we are going to start to embellish our structure. Okay, so now we're going to start to embellish our structure. This is our structure that we glued together, the 9 sheets. And we're just going to start at the top. And so we're going to start with number 1. I'm going to let this unroll a little bit. And we're going to start with number 1. And what I want to do is this cut edge, I want to match fairly close to the top. Now, one of the nice things about these art cascades is that they're not glued tightly together. I think the beauty of paper is that when it flutters, when it sort of is free, and when you can really see the sort of, the ephemeral quality, or the, it's paper. It's not something heavy. It's something light and I think beautiful. I love paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to match everything up with the top and then the sides of the structure, and I'm just going to glue that down. So that's my first image. And this is all going to be covered up when we keep going. All right, so now I'm going to glue number 2 down. Now notice this is pretty long. And again, this is choice, but I'm going to show you how I would do it. I'm going to tear this piece off. And the reason I'm tearing it and not cutting it is that when you cut paper, there's a heaviness to it, but if you tear it, there's a lightness. And so I'm just tearing a bit of this off, and I'm going to sort of do a visual here. You don't need to measure. And I think what I want to do is aesthetically, I don't want it like this. It's a little too tight. And I would say this is too long. There's too much space. So I'm giving it about a 1/2 inch from the top of that design, right, to the bottom of your previous piece. So that's roughly a 1/2 inch. I now know where I'm placing this. So I'm now going to apply my glue stick. And then now I have to go along the edge of this tear. It's a little trickier. It's not a straight edge. And I'm just going to slide this underneath the top one, get it roughly in place. I haven't glued it down yet. And now I'm going to make sure, I'm not worried about what's happening at the top. I'm concerned that this is matching side to side, right? So that looks pretty good. It's matching side to side. And I'm just going to glue that one down. So that is number 2, 1, 2. So now we're going to do 3. And 3 is this lovely, it looks like a saguaro almost. I'm not sure, but it's a beautiful image. I love this image. And these are from vintage postcards. You can do really neat things. And you can already see the quality of the paper starting to show, right? You've got the edges, they're not glued down. I mean, we could just glue it down, but look, you would lose this movement that you have in the paper piece. And this is what I love when I'm designing with paper. So again, I'm going to tear this. And I'm going to make sure, that I've got plenty of room here. So I'm just checking it. And again, I'm looking for about a 1/2 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch plus, not minus. So a little, maybe just a titch more than a 1/2 inch, but around a 1/2 inch. And now I'm going to tear off the piece right here. And again, what I'm doing is this creates a lightness. And it ultimately is reflected in the piece. So I'm just going along the edge, being careful not to get glue all over the table, and just getting it right up along the edge. And I'm going to place it underneath, checking for that 1/2 inch distance here. And I'm not gluing yet. What I'm doing is I'm checking the side to side, right? Side to side, that it's even. And I'm going to hold it in place and glue it down. All right, and now we're going to do number 4, and that is definitely a Decor, and I'm not sure what this one is, but now you've got a tightness here, right? So when you tear the paper off, make sure you give it enough because you want it to be able to move, right? We're talking about the movement of the paper, so that's about a 1/2 inch. So I'm actually on this one, I'm not going to tear, I'm just going to glue, okay? So I just apply our fabulous, whoever invented glue sticks is brilliant. I'm applying the glue stick. I'm giving it about a 1/2 inch. That looks good. Checking the sides. I'm not concerned about the top or the bottom. Looking at the sides and then gluing it down. All right. Now, what you can do is you can take another paper clip or take the paper clip that you have on the end and start rolling up the top from the top down. All right. So now we're going to do number 5. And I believe this is a yucca. Yucca, yucca. And so what I'm going to do is, now this one I'm giving a little bit more because I'm looking here aesthetically and I don't want it quite jammed up that much. So I'm giving some space to the sky. Again, it's very up to whatever you like, but I want a little bit more here because I want to see, it seems too tight to me. And a lot of this stuff is just intuition. All right, now I'm going to tear this off and I'm just tearing, I'm just tearing a little off, because I don't want to get too close to the image that I want showing. And I'm just going to apply the adhesive right here, being careful not to glue all over the place. And again, I'm sliding that in and I'm thinking, okay, I want a little spaciousness in that sky. And voila, there's that one. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way down and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I've glued the last one down. This is the last one here on the end. And now I'm just going to take my scissors and trim a little bit off the end. And if you wanted to be really fun, you could use like a scalloped edge or a pinking shear, or you could even tear it for that matter, because you might get a little hit of it, you know, if it flutters in the wind. So now I've got my whole piece here. As you can see, it's all put together. And the beauty of the miraculous glue stick is that it goes together really quickly, and you've got all the lovely pieces all put together. And now we're going to create our header. So you're going to take one of your header pieces and you're going to fold that exactly in half. And of course, I'm silly and sort of careful. I want when I place this on here, I'm going to want the words facing in the right direction. But does it really matter? Probably not. So what I'm doing is I'm taking it and I'm pushing it down, and I'm just going to try it out first. Look at how great that looks. And when I designed this, I left enough room so when you put the grommet on, right, then you're not cutting into the image. So that's intentional. But you'll see that later. All right, so what I'm going to do, so the first thing I'm going to do to glue the header down is I'm going to apply a fair amount of adhesive to the back of this, on the back flap. And now I'm just going to place this right into the fold. And again, making sure that it's matching up side by side, just like that. Now again here, I don't want to glue this all the way down because again, to me, the beauty of the paper is that you see some of this movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add just a little bit on the top, just to sort of tack it down. So it holds down, but it will still, you know, with moisture and maybe a little breeze, it'll still curl up a little bit. And I like that. If you prefer to glue it down, that's fine also. So now I'm going to, notice how I move the work around to position it so I can see it better. I want this to be fairly even in the middle. You could measure it if you choose to. I try not to measure stuff. And the other thing I want is I want this grommet just a little bit more in the blue than on the typewriter. But again, you could put it here, you could put it here. If you don't put it in the center, it's not going to hang straight. So you do really want to try to get it in the center. So I'm just going to apply more of the fabulous glue stick. And then I'm just, and again, I'm not committing, what is it? Measure twice, cut once. That's sort of what I'm doing too. So, and there's a little grain to this paper. So I'm just going to turn it so it's at a slight angle. And I'm looking at it from side to side. And I like where that is, right there. I'm going to glue that grommet down. Now, if you didn't use a grommet, it would work, but this paper, but what this cardstock does is it gives it a little reinforcement. So, you know, so it doesn't tear. Okay. And then I've got my hole punch here. And again, if you want to mark it, go for it. But I tend to like to just sort of eyeball it. Okay, come on. There we go. Oh, that's pretty right on. Good. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ribbon and thread it through. And I always like, now notice I chose orange for this because I like the way it pops against, you know, there's a pop to it. And then I just match up the ends and I'm just going to tie a knot. And you can finish this however you choose. I mean, this is fun. It's not rules. And then what I like to do is I like to angle it one way. And then of course, because of who I am, I'm going to angle it in the opposite direction. And then you're all ready to hang your fabulous art cascade. All right, let's say you want to make this into a diptych. You want two pieces that are shorter. I love the long piece because it fits in an area where you don't typically have things to hang. And that's one of the reasons I came up with this design is I wanted something in a sort of a tall, narrow space. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this piece actually into two pieces. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to kind of roll things up here and I'm going to find the rough center. And I think this is going to be the center for me. And you can use a ruler or you can just use your scissors. And I'm just going to cut this off right here. So I'm essentially what I'm doing is I'm cutting the piece in half. So I'm just going to set this aside. So I've got my top half. And now I've got my bottom half, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the bottom, or on the top. And I'm just going to look at that. And see, that's too much blue for me. So I am just going to cut. This is where a straight edge. You know what you could do? This will make it easier. I'm actually going to fold this to give me a cut line. And I'm matching up the sides and the sides. And actually, so what's going to happen is, well, this is going to come apart and we'll re-glue it. You can measure, you can use a triangle, you can use a lot of different things. Okay, and let's see if I like this as the header. Yeah, I think that's going to work great. So I'm going to glue this down. And again, I'm not paying attention to the top. I'm paying attention to the sides. I'm matching up the side to side. The top will work itself out. And I glue that down. I'm going to glue, I want the words going in the right direction because I'm a little crazy that way. Lots of glue on the back. And I'm matching everything up again, side to side, right? And then I'm folding the piece over, just like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to attach it lightly. In my grommet, and then I'll tie it. And that's it.